Hello and welcome to the Selfish Podcast. Today we have a great guest, Peter from Paw Salvation. Now, this is a man of great contribution and someone that I find very inspiring in the world. And I found his story online thanks to my partner, Danielle. And I'm really interested to know his personal story. And I think you're going to find it very enjoyable. But first, Peter, can we hear a little bit about your early life? Can you paint me a picture of what your childhood was like pre 10 years old? Where did you grow up? What did your parents do?
Pre-growing up, I lived in West Africa, that is Lagos, Nigeria. My
Mhm.
parents, my dad was the director in NRC, that is the Nigeria Railway Corporation. That is the office that's in charge of like the metro, the rail lines, the trains. Then my mom was a teacher. She taught at different levels, pre-K and entry levels, and she was just basically a teacher. So I had my mom as a teacher and I had my dad as the very official guy.
Yeah. Yeah. And how long was you in Africa for? How long was you in Nigeria?
I was in Nigeria for let's see, I left Nigeria when I was 28, 27, 27.
Okay, so yeah, quite late. Was that straight to America?
Yes, straight to America, yes. But prior
Oh,
before then, I visited like I usually travel. When we're younger, we usually travel, but I decided to relocate to America when I was 27.
okay. And what was school like in your childhood? How was school?
It was tough, but we learned a different way because coming here and having a 2 year old, I see the way learning is here is very different from what we had growing up, what I had growing up.
Yeah. And how do you see the difference? What was it like for you?
The difference is the method of teaching is like day and night.
Mhm.
Here they encourage the kids to it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to try again. When I was growing up, I don't think I was given the opportunity to try again. Like you have to get it the first time. You
Oh,
have
okay. Yeah.
they were harder on us as against learning the fun way. It wasn't fun learning back when I was growing up. It was like
Yeah.
it was hard.
Yeah. It
So they
sounds like
didn't make learning
a lot of
fun
pressure.
at all. But here, let exactly, it was a lot of pressure. But here, learning is fun. They make it as fun as possible, and
Oh, nice.
that's the whole difference.
Yeah. Do you remember when you was younger, like what your first ambition was, like something you wanted to be or do when you was older?
When I was younger, or when I was much younger, I used to always want to do something around animals. I've never, since I was born, like since I became like a toddler, that I knew letters and numbers. We had always had dogs in the house at
Mm.
different times of my stage. So there's never been a time that I can remember as a child that I was never around any kind of animal. Hamsters, rabbits, dog, always dogs. But the add-on will be like maybe rabbits, hamsters, um, what's that thing called again? Birds, parrots. So we're always around animals in general. And I've
Yeah.
always loved animals.
Yeah, and you just knew you wanted there was just a passion there from the beginning to do with animals.
Yes. I didn't know what it was, but I just knew I wanted to do something with animals.
Oh, nice. And what comes to mind first when I say, what was your earliest struggle in life?
What comes to mind first would be the transition from Nigeria to America. It was a struggle. It
Yeah,
was it was a struggle.
yeah. And what did you, if you don't mind talking about it, what did you find the struggle was?
Uh, Being an immigrant, and not just being an immigrant with an accent was hard here. I faced racism almost every day of my life since I was here. And even in the field that I'm in right now is white dominated, white female dominated. And even as of this particular moment as we speak, I still face racism. I
Mm,
still I more or less have to prove myself every time
yeah,
to the public for just to let them know, okay, my intentions are actually genuine. Because most of the time when they hear my accent, they're like, okay, where are you from? Okay, why are you doing what you're doing? There's always a question, why? As against if I was a different color or maybe I didn't even have the accent, it would have been better. But I started to embrace my difference because I know I'm different. I started embracing it, and that's when I started getting the energy that I needed inside of me to keep pushing. Because when I first started, there was no encouragement from nowhere, literally. It was my wife that was helping me all throughout just to, baby, don't worry, it's going to be fine. Don't worry, it's going to be fine. Don't worry, it's going to be fine. And just keep doing you, just keep doing you. And it was hard, I must say. It was hard until I started like gaining that inner strength because it takes a while to gain that inner strength. So I wouldn't say I'm past the emotional side of the racism part of this, but I think I'm strong enough mentally to handle it.
Yeah, and what do you think gave you more inner strength? Where did that strength come from?
Honestly, I would say my wife because she sees sometimes when it happens, and she's like, okay. Let me give you an instance. There was one time I was sending. I won't want to mention the company's name, but I sent an email to the company. Hey, my name is this. I work with non for profit. We do this. I didn't get a response because at the end of every email, you have to put your full name. So I didn't get any response. But the same email, my wife sent the same email using her name. And she got a response. And she got a follow up call, things like that. So most of the time, just to cut the whole drama, I would just let her handle the phone calls or handle the emails because most times, many a times, when they read my name, it doesn't work. Like I don't get the call back or I don't get a response on my email, and
Mhm.
I just left that department for her to handle.
Yeah, no, it can be a tough one because even myself personally, and in England, there's a what would be the word? There's sort of like a not it's not a it's, the Nigerians are known for say email scams. It's a big culture.
Exactly,
People say be careful for the, and I've had emails come through with
exactly,
Nigerian names asking for money, and
exactly.
some really strange things, and
Yes,
like you say, so I imagine like yeah, that could put a lot of pressure on you when you're just being genuine and you're authentic.
exactly. So I have to always prove myself every time, but it's okay.
Yeah, like you say, it's making
It's
you
okay.
stronger. And the
Yeah,
area you work in is like you need to have a lot of strength.
correct. Because it's very emotional. You see homeless people every day. When I come home, I'm just like, thank God for shelter. Thank God for a roof over my head because there are people out there that I see every day. Not like I'm driving through. I go, I meet them, they confide in me. They call me when they have nothing to eat. They say, hey, Peter, can you come? We are hungry. Okay, I'm coming. Peter, I don't have, what's it called now? My phone is about to run out. I don't have call, but I can text. Don't worry, I'm coming. Things like that. So we built that relationship. So they're more like family to me now as against what other people will call them clients. They are not clients to me, they're family to me.
Yeah, nice. So what brought you into that world? What was the sort of first sort of situation that happened that got you involved in that world of giving and working with homeless?
Uh, when I first started dating my wife, I'm in Chicago. So downtown Chicago, there's a whole lot of them with like homeless people like panhandling, asking for money or things like that. But I noticed a lot of them have pets. So I asked my wife, is there anybody that cares for their pets? As against if he gets like let's say $20 or $10 a day on the street, so he has to feed himself and feed his pet. Is there anybody that's like caring for his pet? So whatever he gets on the streets is enough to take care of himself, to
Mm.
stretch him longer, as against having to split it between him and an animal. She said she doesn't know of anything like that. So I said okay. That's how I started. So the whole thing is There was a time, or there still happens once in a while here, where most people come and try to take these animals from them and
Yeah.
say, "Oh, they are not fit to care for the animal," and things like that. Paw Salvation, I don't judge. I just go to them and make them understand. I want to preserve the bond you have with your animal, and I know how it is out here on the street. Sometimes you might get nothing. Sometimes what happens to your animals? So, because they don't have storage, I give them enough for a week. Meaning, I get to see them every week, and I get to kind of see how the animal is doing, if they need a veterinary care or something. I'm like, oh, I think, um, for instance, there's the cat called Simba. Simba is not eating well. What's going on? I noticed like the fur is not as bright or something. I'm like, hey, do you want us to try going to the vet? Oh, we don't have a means to get there. Don't worry, I'll come pick you up and we'll go. So I come, I pick them up, I take them to the vet, things like that. When the pandemic hit, the first time it hit, there was no foot traffic. It was like we had a shelter in place. Everybody had to stay in the house. But I couldn't see myself being in the house because I didn't know how they were going to eat or how the animals were even going to survive.
Mm.
So I was going out every day to give them food, money, and to make sure that they had their animals. So during the shelter in place and during the pandemic, a lot of people lost incomes, so we had to expand from not just homeless people now, but for people who lost income because a lot of people were doing what we call owner surrender. They go to the shelter and say, "Hey, I can't care for this animal anymore. I want to like surrender it, relinquish the animal." So my job is to prevent that from happening. So say, "Hey, what do you need? You need dog food, you need treats and toys. We'll get you that. You need medication, vaccines, microchip. We do all that." So just to reduce the traffic that goes to the shelter, because most of these people really want these animals, but because of the love they have for them, they just rather give it up so that it could go to a better home. But what home is better other than the original home that they have, which is whoever owns the animal in the first place?
Yeah, no, perfect. Reminds me very much of like when you hear stories of some people that put children into care and foster care when it's just because they feel they can't provide it the life it needs because they actually love it so much. But if someone's
Correct.
there to just give them that little bit of support for what, like you said, what does it need? Is it the food? Is it the vet bills? And yeah, it's amazing what you do, and I find it incredibly inspirational. Because I think, like I said, there's so many people, and the way I see life is everyone has a purpose, and I divide it in the way that some people are here to say serve animals, some people are here to serve the environment, and some people are here to serve other human life form, and some people it's a
Correct.
combination. But
Correct.
not everyone can do one thing, because I see a lot online because there's so much content online now. I think Danielle shared with me the other day a cat that was rescued from a building that was on fire, and there was all this
Yeah.
attention to it. And some people were like really happy. Some people were angry because they're like, "Why is the attention on an animal?" Ah, da, 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 da. But if it wasn't for the animal, I wouldn't have even seen the story. And it's like it's all
Exactly.
connected, but someone's got to do a bit for everything. But
Yes.
yeah, I find it really incredible just that you're working with the animals and people, because I've seen personally in my life what gifts the animals bring into your life and what support, especially in the worst times. There's nothing like the support of a dog or a cat that's close to you when you're having a really bad time. It's like they have an intuition and they know, but just having that connection. I see many, many homeless people who have dogs, and you can just see the dog is loyal. It's with them, even if it's
Yes.
hungry, and you can see
Yes.
that the homeless person, like you said, they're going to make £10, $10, and they're going to buy some dog food with that before they even buy their own food.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
Exactly. So
yeah, no, it's really, really strange. I heard one thing from Danielle. She said that you witnessed that there's more cats with homeless people than dogs. Is that right?
yes. Um, from what I've observed, is cats are easier to handle and they don't require too much as against the dogs.
I
But what I
apologize. One
see,
second. There's a motorbike riding right past me.
okay,
That's it. It's literally 2 feet away from me, a cross bike just went past. I'm sitting in the woods making this podcast at the moment. Oh, and the second one
Oh
is coming
wow.
past. So I'll just wait just a second and I'll cut this out, maybe, or leave it for entertainment. But there's another one just coming through. We're in southern Spain at the moment, and we travel full time in a van. We have a
Oh wow.
rescue dog, and we rescued a cat, and the cat actually was pregnant, and we didn't realize. And 1 month after we
Oh
rescued
wow.
her, she gave birth in the van.
Oh
And
wow.
we was like, oh, we're gonna have to rehome them. What do we do with them? And then after like a few months went past, and you just can't think of yourself detaching. And we was in that position. It's like the only reason we would, uh, as you would say, surrender them is because we couldn't provide for them. And we was like, well, no, we'll find a way. Let's just keep them, and we'll find a way. So we ended up now with the mother cat, and she's got her children with her, and they're now 2.5 years old. And we've got a dog
Oh
that we
wow.
rescued. And I think you saw my post Christmas Day. We found another dog um,
Yes.
beside the side of the bin, and it's huge, really big, massive. And it took up all the room in our van, and was like, he's too big, but what we gonna do? We was like, oh, and he's so nice. He got on with the cats, he got on with the dog. But the end of the story today, we found his owner. We went to the vet. He
Oh,
had a
you did?
microchip. Yep, he had a microchip.
Awesome.
We went met the guy, and the guy was really happy. And he goes, "Oh, he was showing us pictures. The dog has a sister. The bike is coming past again. Yeah, sorry about
Oh,
that.
that's a no, that's okay. That's a very good story because that's another thing Paul Salvation is always trying to do. Like for the whole of 2021, we successfully microchipped about 300 pets, dogs and cats.
Yeah,
So that way we are sure Paul Salvation has done his own part to ensure if any of these animals by some chance break out or can't find their way home with the chip inside of them, they will always get back home and not end up in the shelter. So we successfully had about over a little over 300 chips implanted this
oh,
year.
congratulations.
Thank
So,
you.
so did you found Paw Salvation, or is it an organization you started to work for? How did that manifest?
But I'm the owner of Paw Salvation, and I do Paw Salvation 24 hours. But now,
Mm.
because I don't get enough donations, so I'm trying to look for a regular job. I kind of have Paw Salvation like a part-time thing because we need funding a lot of times, and most of the time I come out of pocket. My wife comes out of pocket. We get funding, just a little bit of funding, but not as as we require it. So what I do is instead of me waiting for what I would call manna from heaven, I'd rather get a job and be sure that I can still continue to care for the people that already trusted me because we've been doing this for a little over 2 years now, and we've built friendship, we've built relationship with these families, and I cannot stand to imagine one day when they say, "Hey, we need pet food," and I'm like, "We don't have." I don't want that to ever happen. So I have to make sure that I preserve that bond and I keep that relationship intact. So I just decided to like next year, early next year, I have to get a regular job to be able to fund my passion.
Yeah.
Pending when it gets to the point to where people would maybe like it and say, "Oh, we'll make this donation every month," or we get donations, but not as it's not even the amount of gas we buy every day
Hmm.
because we drive everywhere, literally. Other organizations have zip codes that they work with. They don't serve anybody beyond a certain zip code. I don't work with zip codes. I don't work with race. I don't, if you need, when the pandemic hit, we're sending food to Texas. We're sending food to North Carolina. We're sending food to Ohio. We're sending food to Michigan from Chicago. We'll put them in a
Hmm.
priority mailbox. Put enough dog food. Put enough cat food. Tape it up. Each family gets at least 4 boxes. We're doing that consecutively. So yes, I did. When the pandemic hit, and a lot of people, there was need. Like literally, there was a huge amount of need. We're sending food from Chicago. We're sending boxes to New York, North Carolina, Florida, Ohio, Texas, um, South Carolina, different states. Once there's a need, they reach out to us. They send us pictures of the animal, how many dogs, how many cats, so I know how much to put together. I put them together and I send it out every week because I know they need stuff. I don't have enough money to send like a big box, but a priority meal box, I know I can just like squeeze and the people what it's supposed to be, but they let it go because they know I'm giving out the food to people in different parts of the country, so they just let it go. They don't like make me pay extra. They just let it like, hey,
Nice.
okay, let it go. So it was a blessing. It was a blessing seeing people reach out from different parts of the country, and we were able to be there for them.
Yeah, no, and it's very interesting. The first thing that comes to my mind is you're sort of saying that how you don't have any judgment or bias on who's going to get it. You don't work with zip codes or even states. You know, it's just whoever's in need and reaches out, you just do the best you can to reach to them. And I wonder whether a
Yes.
big part of that sort of inspiration in you to do so comes from the hardships you've had to face with the racism and the battles that you personally face in your
Correct.
life. You know, you see
Correct.
how much of a friction it is and how much it doesn't make make things better. You know, it doesn't make the job get done any easier. And yeah, I think that's a big part of what makes you do it how you do it, and that's really interesting and again inspirational to hear because it's important people don't put so many restrictions on things. Yeah.
I just wish someday, like one of my very good friends, her name is Michelle. She's a volunteer for Magnificent Months. She used to say, "Oh, Peter, I wish one day we could win the lottery. I wish one day we could win the lottery."
Yeah.
And I keep saying to her, "Maybe we'll win the lottery one day." No, no. But I was saying, on looking on the bright side, I've met beautiful people. I've met incredible
Mm.
people. I've met people that are really supportive. My wife has been from day one. Michelle, Linda, Kathy. These are people that I know that if something happens, I can call them and say, "Hey, this is going on." But the thing is, sometimes they send me messages and say, "Don't worry." She sends me $20 every month for the whole of the
Yeah,
year. She
nice.
did that religiously, and it looked very little, but it helped. It was something I knew if I go to the mailbox, I would see it every month. It's always there. So it's a blessing. It's a blessing. There's another lady that sends $50 every month in a postcard, and she writes these very beautiful handwritten notes. It's always so beautiful. Sometimes you just get a card in the mail that just says, "Thank you for the work that you do." It might not have to come with a check, but it just comes with a note, the card, the note, and it just brightens my day and it encourages me to keep going.
Yeah, and I think, like you say, it's the personal touch and that little bit of someone connecting, you know, and genuinely being supportive really does motivate and inspire to keep moving on. And that gets me into, I was going to ask you because, like, I was talking with someone else and we was talking about sort of a lot of people say are trying to be more consciously aware of what they do, how they treat animals, even how they treat themselves. And a lot of people are doing practices to say make themselves cleaner in different ways. But the fulfillment aspect, I notice, seems to be missing in a lot of people. A lot of people, even who do a lot of healthy practices and live a very conscious lifestyle, are very unfulfilled, you know, and that have a lot of issues with that. Do you find your, because to me it's the whatever your personal unique places to serve others, and that includes animals and, like I say, the environment is where you gain your fulfillment. Would you say when you started doing this work you felt a sense of inner fulfillment?
Yes, yes. I I knew I was going into I was going to be like a minister, but not every minister for the people that don't have voice. So getting into this made me more fulfilled, and sometimes I don't even know where the money comes from because sometimes there's literally no gas in the car. But I don't know how it happens.
Yeah.
It just happens, and I'm able to do what I need to do. That fulfillment it's it's a lot for me. It's I was so fulfilled. I just wish there was more funding, because if there was more funding, I could do more for this community. And the goal for me is not to still see them out there on the bridges or on the sidewalks. The goal is to, at the end of the day, get them resources that will give them permanent shelters. Because we've had success stories before, 2021 and 2020, where homeless people that we cared for transitioned into having their own homes. And
Mm.
I will have like two of them as board members for Paw Salvation. Two of them were veterans, and the rest of them are still. We had success stories because most people think, oh, we just want them where they are to care for them where they are. No, the main goal is being supportive with them while they're in this transition. Because homelessness, I don't see it as a permanent thing. I see it as a transition. At some
Yeah.
point, you will transition out of homelessness into your own spot, and we don't even just stop when you get your own apartment. Like Mandy has a cat called Napoleon. She used to be under the Wacker Bridge. She got her own space now, but we still go there and make sure she's okay and the cat is okay. We still, on her birthday, we bought her a cake. We got her balloons, and we took her a gift because we are family. So it doesn't end when they transition out of the streets. It doesn't end there. It still continues because it's a whole it's a whole big picture. It's a very,
Yeah.
very big picture.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, that's well done again, man. That's just, it makes so much sense, and you can see that that's going to keep the growth, and keep the progress. And the
Yes.
people need the support. And I've also found personally, from just witnessing many different people in a homelessness position, that the ones that have animals seem to be, and I don't know if it's because of the responsibility, whereas for me, it's more because they have the love and support of the animal. But I notice a lot more of them are not as intoxicated with whichever substances people can get into. But I see a lot of ones that have the animals. They don't seem to. They seem to be more, like I say, they're not drinking as much. They're not taking as many drugs or any. And I feel like that animal seems to give them the support and love and the bond that they need to not have to change their state of being with a chemical. Have you noticed the same thing?
You just took the words right out of my mouth. Yes, I know. That's why I say I don't judge them, but I know most of them are on. Usually, once in a while, are under the influence of whatever it is. But I noticed that the animals always keep them on check, kind
Mm.
of like the sense of rest. It's like it's just like having a child. They know they can. This is an excess. They cannot. Sometimes they just actually just go clean. I've seen cases where a few of them went clean because of their cat or their dog. I've seen that case before.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it makes sense. And like you're saying, if someone comes along and says, "Oh, we're going to take the animal away," and the animal will either go to a shelter or just be terminated. But I imagine it's going to do the opposite. That person that loses the love for their animal and the animal's taken, they're going to be in a much worse position afterwards.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. So that's the thing. We always make sure we preserve the bond, and I keep getting emails. It's like the work never stops. On Christmas Day, I dressed up like Santa Claus. I cooked for them. I grilled chicken. I cooked rice. I put it together. Me and my friend Michelle, we went to the street to give them food because when the holiday started, we took them a Christmas tree with
Mm.
Christmas lights and ornaments right there under the bridge because they are also human beings. They also deserve to have the holiday spirit. So we made them have write a wish list of things that they could like wish for. They wrote out a few things and we're able to gather around uh, a few of those items and we presented it to them on Christmas Day. I dressed up like Paul Claus because I call myself Paul Claus because I wear a Santa Claus outfit that has paws on it. That makes me different. So
Yeah,
I'm not Santa Claus. I am Paul Claus.
poor
So
Claus.
on
I like it.
Christmas Day, Paul Claus came out, gave them their gifts, and gave them food. Gave them. They were just happy to see me, and it's it's a lot. It's a lot of joy that comes to my heart seeing them happy because that's the whole. Sometimes just that little bit of happiness just give them a sense of hope. Like, okay, I think things will get better, or things will get better, or there's hope on the way, or things like that. So,
Well, yeah, and even
as
just in that moment, like most people, we're only chasing a feeling, whether we want a nice car, a big house, or a nice girlfriend or a wife, or we're chasing the feeling we think's associated with that. So we feel that joy, we feel love, and when we're in that moment, if you're bringing that to them in that moment, regardless of if they have a home or if they have anything, like you say, if you're bringing a smile to them and love and comfort, you both share the experience of what we're all looking for. So it's
yes,
really powerful stuff. And how I'm really interested to know a little bit more about you and how did you meet your wife? Because you mentioned your wife a few times. What's the story with you and your wife? When did you meet? How did that develop?
I met my wife online through a
Hmm.
dating site, and we dated for a while, and we got married. And she has been a tremendous support from day one. And most of the time, I really cannot do much without talking to her first. So she's like my pillar. She's like my support, my
Yeah.
major support. So, although she thinks I'm crazy most of the time doing what I'm doing, like she's like, at what point would you give up? I'm like, I'm not going to give up. So she's like, when she saw that, okay, I'm not going to give up, even regardless of the racism or regardless of not having enough funding. Then she just said, well, I bet I just have to support him. So she's been like a major, major, major support because many of the time she works. So many of the time she's the one that helps me financially. And I say, hey, okay, I know you did this, take this. I know you did that, take that. So she's been she's been like a godsend. Not just my
Wow.
wife, she's my best friend. So yeah, she's amazing. She is amazing. Not just because of the help she renders with Paw Salvation, but mentally she has a way of getting to me to make me know it's gonna be okay. And I really just love her.
Beautiful, man. It's really nice to hear. I love to hear also, like I said, I love animal. I love lots of things, yeah. But I really love to hear about animals, but also the relationships and love. And when I could hear the love in your voice when you was even mentioning her name at the beginning. So it's like you say, when you find that power, it is a power, and it
Yes.
makes you stronger, it makes you more active, and whatever if you found a way to contribute, it just makes you use that power in that direction, which it seems it definitely does for you.
Yes.
Like you were saying earlier about like winning the lottery or something, like you have now, and I want people to be able to find you, and I'm going to put your links and everything in the description. But I think rather than winning the lottery, I think with this time and day and age where we can connect so much online and everything, there's a lot of people without money and there's a lot of people with a lot of money, and it just takes one of them to hear a story, to hear that it exists. It's about people buy things because they see it in the shop, but if they didn't know it exists, they can't buy it, even if it's better. And I think
True.
your cause and what you do is, like I said, it's inspiring, it's motivational, it's a worthy cause. I think there's a lot of people out there that would want to support it, and they can now witness as well where the money goes. They can watch on Instagram, YouTube,
Right.
and different places and see where your money goes. And I think that's a massive change that we can see now that helps. So I think as your thing grows and you do more things, and like I said, as my platform grows, I'll be sure to be sharing it with people that I come in contact with. And I think you've got a good chance that in the near future you'll suddenly get a couple of sponsors come on board that have money to spare, for something good.
That that would be a blessing.
Yeah,
That's the lottery we were talking about. That's the real lottery.
yeah. And so where can people donate to you? Where can people find you?
We have a website. It is www.pawsalvation.com. That is PAW Salvation, SALVATION.com. We receive donations. Funny enough, somebody sent us, I think, £10 on PayPal from England, literally,
Mm,
a while ago, sometime in March. So it was weird to see you know when you receive something on PayPal and it says It tells you where his money's coming from. I'm like, oh, damn, from England. But yes, we have a PayPal. Pretty much, it's safe and secure to donate online. I mean, if you want to, on our website, you can do a monthly donation. You can do a one-time donation. You can on PayPal, you can do a monthly donation as well, or a one-time donation. If you're in America, we have Zelle. It's info@pawsalvation.com. If it is Cash App, we have info@pawsalvation.com.
Oh, nice. Yes, a lot of ways, and like I said, links and everything I will put in the description. But I'm sure there's going to be some listeners that are going to want to be involved. And like I say, I've seen accounts on Instagram where they got millions of followers and they're just sharing pictures of animals. They're not saying anything's
Yes.
going towards anyone. They're not saying anything's helping the animals. It's just that, and it's like, then you come across someone like you, and there's another one I follow called Four Paws, which is like a really big
Okay.
animal rescue thing. And still they have like 40,000 Instagram followers or something, yet they're doing so much. And you're like, then you look at suddenly a page on kittens and it's like, oh, we've got 500 million followers. And you're like, what's going on? But I think once you've got a slight following, you've got 50,000 people and suddenly every single one of them gives you £1. Suddenly there's an incredible amount of money. If that was every month, suddenly you're like,
Yes.
wow. And that can happen. It's the consistency and the growth. And when you've got a good cause like you have, I think that will. So yeah, definitely keep persevering and keep pushing through. I also liked you on Christmas. I saw something with the sneakers. Can you tell me the story of the sneakers story?
Yes. A company called Sneaker Hearts donated 40 pairs of sneakers to us on Christmas Eve. That
Oh,
was
nice.
so beautiful because we had to include that on the wish list on Christmas Day when we're handing out stuff to the homeless people that we care for. It was just beautiful. Just at the nick of time. Christmas Eve at about 11 p.m.
Oh, really? So
It
right at
was
the last minute.
right at the very last minute.
That's when
It's
Santa's elves finish their job, I suppose.
right. It
And
was beautiful.
because
It
I
was
think
a
I saw
beautiful
in one of your
moment.
posts, like the number one thing on the list was socks.
Yes.
And I think a lot of
Yes.
people are unaware that sometimes it's the most basic things that we can take
Exactly.
for,
Those
we
for
take for granted, like a good pair of socks,
yes.
a nice pair of
Yes.
shoes. But no, it's
It
really,
was it was so helpful. It was very helpful.
yeah. I imagine, like, does it, how would you describe the feeling that you get when you do this kind of work, when you're touching people's lives in such a way? How would you describe that if you can?
It's, I like the last statement you just made. If I can, I really cannot
Yeah.
describe it. It's just it's I don't know how to say it, but it's just satisfied and it's just seeing that little smile. It just I don't know what word to use, but I know I cannot describe it. But it's fulfilling. It's just like a rush. It feels like it gives me a reason to keep going, like a reason not to stop. Because honestly, a few times I was down and out. There was no funding from nowhere. My wife didn't even have any support for me. I was like, you know what? I guess I tried, and well, I've done the best that I could. At that nick of time, something just happened. Somebody just gives you $100 from nowhere. Somebody just gives you $200. You can imagine what $200 would do. Buy gas, buy some food, and you go back to the street again.
Yeah.
It just never stops. It
Oh,
just
no,
never
incredible.
stops.
Would you say, well, what do you think, how do you think a conversation would go? And let's say your younger self, at about 15 years old, if they was to meet you now, how do you think your younger self would think about you now, being in America, doing what you're doing? What do you think they would, what do you think they would think about you?
Well, growing up, I always had older friends. So I'm the kind of person really I don't really care what people really think about me. I'm not doing what I'm doing for. Oh, he's a nice guy. Oh, No, that's not. That's not. So my younger me would be telling me now, will be saying, "Oh, how best to improve yourself." Because what I'm doing, because of my background, because of my ethnicity and everything, it's more of mental strength. It's more of encouragement because many times you might not get funded, but you get that encouragement. Like you can do this. That word alone is enough. So my younger self, I would tell my younger self, never be discouraged. Hard times is part of the drill. It will come. It's part of growing up where sometimes you doubt yourself. Sometimes you doubt what you're doing, like, am I really supposed to be doing this? Or do I just give up? Those are the
Mm.
times that distinguish your 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 mission because you
Yeah.
have a mission and you have a vision. So those moments really define if what you're doing is for real or if what you're doing is for praise. And what I'm doing is not really for praise. What I'm doing is because I'm passionate about what I'm doing.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. No, that's great, man. Like I say, I give you that support. Like I really am inspired and motivated by people like you. It's the service and contribution to others, without judgment and just being of service rather than self-service. Even though ultimately, it's a bit why this is called the Selfish Podcast. Like I'm doing this to connect and share with others, but ultimately, I love doing that, and I love sharing other people's stories and missions. But that makes me feel good, so it's kind of selfish in the same way. What you do makes you feel great, but you're doing it purely for others. So it becomes sort of this backwards twist, you know. No, it's incredible what you do. And yeah, just never stop, like times can get hard, as we've seen in the last 2 years. So many people have struggled in so many ways, and you've obviously seen the not the bottom end of it, but you've seen the hard graft area where there is a lot of homeless and there is a lot of animals. Like not many people have noticed what would have happened to animals in this time, because there's such pressure on the human side of things, not realizing, like you said, people are surrendering their pets, their loved ones there. It's a it's an extension of your family, having an animal. Do you have animals yourself?
Yes, I do. I have dogs.
What type of dogs do you have, and what's their names?
I have a multiple. Her name is Lily, and I have a French bulldog. Her name is Grace.
Oh, nice. And how did they enter your life?
Lily, which is the multiple, is my wife's dog. So those were one of the things that even brought us together because she had a pet. So on our first date, she came with her dog, and it was just, it was just. I've always been around animals, and for some reason, everybody around me has animals. So
Hmm.
that's how we clicked on our first date at Starbucks, and from there, Grace. I got Grace uh, when I was here. I got Grace, and I've had a couple of dogs. I've had Mango, is a German Shepherd. I've had Neola, she's a German Shepherd. I've had quite a number of dogs here, but I would say I'm more of a dog person. I used to have a cat, but I rehomed it to another lady that I know that just has just cats because one
Yeah.
of my dogs didn't do well with my cat, so I had to rehome the cat.
Yeah, it's always been it's an odd relationship with cats and dogs. Like I said, we rescued a dog, and then shortly after rescued a cat, and we was like, if they don't get along, at least the cat will be wild because she will just run away. And she was due to be
Yeah.
terminated before we rescued her, so we was like, we'll take
Oh,
her just to stop her being terminated. And if she stays with us, she stays. If she doesn't, at least she's free for a little while, however long that is. But she ended up staying, and then we got her. The dog wanted to eat her for the first few days, and it took some training. But now he's security, and we didn't know. Like I said, she was pregnant, so we sort of took her and her babies without realizing. And he's now their security. He doesn't let anyone, dogs or people, go near them.
oh wow.
So it's a real nice. But yeah, this they can have very different relationships. And I'm always telling people as well, similar to how there's homeless people, there's so many animals out there in shelters, and there's so many animals out there on the streets. Um, and when people go to buy them from shops, it's like there's so many puppies, and they're not all got, say, problems, and they're not all going to be hard to look after. We see where we are in Spain, an abundance of shelters with dogs and cats of all ages that are just waiting for a home. So we're always telling people, if you're looking for an animal, you can go to a shelter and rescue one. There's so many out there.
Back in Nigeria, we don't have a rescue. We don't even have a shelter. So
Mm.
that's something I'm planning to do soon. I don't know when, but I'll do that soon. Where to give the people option, because back in Africa, back in West Africa, if you want a dog or a cat, you buy it. There's no
There's
shelter.
only the option to buy from a shop.
Period. There's no other option. It's just to buy it, or you bring it in. If you are wealthy enough, you can fly the animal in. If not, you
Mm.
can buy from a local breeder. But there's no known shelter or in West Africa, not just in Nigeria, in West Africa as a whole.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. It's
So
interesting.
no, there's not.
No, that
So
would be
the only
really good
option
if you
for
can get
people in
something.
West
Yeah.
exactly. So that's another that's another quest. If I tell my wife, I know she'll lose her mind. Like, okay, now you want to do this, but that's one
No,
of the things that yeah.
yeah, I'm always telling my love, Danielle, like, and it sounds similar to you. I'm highly ambitious, so I will say all my ambitions and do this, and sometimes for someone else it can be almost overwhelming, because they're like,
Yes,
yeah, they can have the fear of what if it doesn't work out, and I said maybe it won't, but it doesn't stop me.
exactly,
I'm not
exactly,
expectation that it has to work out, but I'm not going to give up trying just because it might not work.
exactly,
I will go for it because I
exactly,
want, and that's what I want to do. So
exactly.
I would just keep going. I think you've got that same drive. It's like, yeah, even if it seems like out of reach, I will just keep trying. I'll find a way. But if I don't, I'm
It's
still, at least I can die with a smile on my face that I tried till the very end.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. I also saw on your website you was looking to raise money to have a van to travel around to groom animals and give them like veterinary, ticks and
Correct.
nothing. I thought that was really interesting. I was like, oh, that would be such an incredible and advantage for someone like you to be able to have something like that. So I hope anyone listening that wants to donate goes to your website and actually sees you're showing what you will do with the money and how that can make an obvious difference. Like I said, I think for something like
Yes,
this, it just needs to be put in front of people's faces, and then they can't say it. It just makes sense. And I think people they just need to know you exist and what you do exists. And like you said,
yeah,
from people from England, I think there's people all around the world that they also don't care about boundaries. They don't care about ethnicity. They don't care that you're in America and they're in England. It's a they see that you're of service and you're helping, and maybe they work a 9 to 5 and they wish they could do more, but they can't because of the position they're in. But they can give £10 a month. They can give 5 or
yeah,
15 or something, and know that they're actually
yeah.
making a big difference. Because
Yes,
them they add up and they do make a big difference. I can change. Like in my early life, I had spent time where we only ate because someone would donate a food box. So if we didn't get the food
wow.
box, we wouldn't have food for days. So we had that childhood where it's like, oh wow, someone actually wants to give you some food, and sometimes I would get excited as a child because you get brands and things that you don't normally ever eat because you don't have the money
Yes,
to have
yes,
them. You
yes,
get you
yes,
get donated things that are like, oh my god, it's like amazing. And at Christmas, it seems to be bigger. We got some really nice foods where people are more generous, I think, and they want to give
yeah.
because they're having more themselves. I noticed at Christmas you get some really nice stuff. Have you
Yes.
noticed after Christmas that
Yes, it
there's a
happens. It happens a lot. A lot of people are more generous during the holiday season, which is normal.
But do you notice a
It's
problem
always has.
afterwards? January, February, is this like a harder time for you and for the homeless?
Yes, that's why God has always made a way for us to just have enough like reserve for them during that hard time, which is
Mm.
January, February, and sometimes early March.
Yeah, early March, and then April and Easter comes around, and I imagine it's another sort of boost.
Yeah.
That's nice. I know we've taken up nearly an hour of your time right now, so I know time is precious, and I really appreciate you being here and sharing your story. I just have a few, they're like quick fire, one answer questions to finish up. Do you have time for
Okay.
them?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Now I know the answer because you've actually mentioned this, but I ask every guest the same questions, and you've briefly mentioned this answer. But if you had to choose one, cats or dogs?
Do I really have to choose?
Yep. Which just
Uh,
drive, like you already said it, I think.
dogs.
Yeah, like I said, everyone, if they put down to it, they always choose one.
I would choose a dog.
What's your favorite color?
Favorite. When I was younger, it used to be yellow, but now that I'm older, gray.
Okay. And what would you say excites you creatively and spiritually?
Seeing somebody smile,
Oh,
giving
nice.
somebody that never expected to get hope, just giving them that sense of hope makes it. That's everything for me. That's actually what
Beautiful.
I'm doing. What I'm doing
Yeah,
because many of them don't expect it. So when they see it, it's like, is this real? Like you
yeah,
can see the shock in their face, like, oh damn, is this for real? Are you for real?
yeah. I was actually
Yes,
sharing with someone else in a podcast, and I was saying when you're sometimes if someone's in such a bad place, you can say something to them, and it could make them commit suicide. It could push them over the edge. The one bad
yes,
thing. But I said at the exact same time,
yes,
the exact opposite can happen. Something so small as
yes,
even a hello, how are you, a smile, can change someone's whole life because
yes.
you don't know where they are in that moment, and that connection
Exactly,
can be so powerful. So
exactly.
yeah, no, I really understand that. What would you say? What turns you off? What shuts you down?
Uh, and um, so someone not appreciative about not being appreciative.
What would you say? What sound or noise do you love?
Sound or noise. Barking. If I go somewhere or like I'm driving or I'm walking down somewhere and I don't hear a dog bark, I don't feel I don't feel all is well. So barking, a dog barking makes me is a noise that I like to hear.
Okay, what noise do you not like to hear?
The honking. I don't like the
Honking, yeah.
car honking.
Okay. What would you say? And what it's just what comes first to mind. What would you say your greatest fear is?
Not being able to provide for these people that I serve. That's my
Mhm.
greatest fear. Not being able to help them when they in need. That's my greatest fear.
Okay. What do you love about yourself?
Uh, that's a regular guy. I just like that I'm ordinary. I don't. I know
Like or
I'm not
love?
gonna.
Do you just like that you're ordinary, or do you love that you're ordinary? And are you
I love
ordinary? You
that.
don't sound so ordinary to me.
I know. I don't like. I always tell myself I'm ordinary. I'm just a regular guy. So I see myself as a public servant. So
Mm.
that's why I said I'm just an ordinary guy. I'm just a regular guy. That's what I love about myself. I'm just a regular guy. So even in a room full of celebrities or powerful people, I'm just a regular guy. They are who they are. I'm just a regular guy. That's what I
Okay.
love most about myself.
What do you love in others?
Generosity, empathy.
Nice. And the very last question, which I think you're going to be able to answer very easily, is what do you love about animals?
What do I love about animals? They give me fulfill. Personally, my animals give me fulfillment. They just give me calm. In a world of like noise, they just give me that calm. When I see them or when I'm giving them like a belly rub or something, they just it's more. When I use the word therapeutic for me, it's more of therapy for me because when I'm just around animals, I just feel that I just feel that calmness. So yes,
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And for myself, and I've witnessed how therapeutic an animal can be for someone. Um, especially, I've noticed, especially people that have had really bad traumas. I think where like humans have hurt them so much, they struggle to bond with other humans so much, and an animal can bridge that gap, help them bring themselves
yes,
back to what love is, help them bring them back into, like you said, calmness. I think they have such a power in our lives, and we should treat them as such. They're valuable, same as we are valuable.
yes,
So
you're right.
no, it's been absolutely beautiful and wonderful to hear your story and to get to know you a bit more personally and just share your story with others. I'm really excited for other people to hear what you're doing and see your cause grow over the years and see the abundance it creates and the support you create for others, as well as the inner well-being it's going to create for yourself as you grow this. And as you just, like you said, even at the level you're at now, you're making a difference, and you should really pat yourself on the back every day that you're doing a wonderful job, and never forget that. And yeah, I've really enjoyed this conversation. Is there any last things that you'd like to say?
I want to say thank you for the opportunity and taking out time to hear my story and share my story. Because, like you rightly said, if they don't know about it, they will not donate to it, or they will not want to be part of it. So, thank you for being another branch where people around the world can hear my story and see my journey, and hopefully want to be part of my journey. Thank you so very much for this opportunity, and I really am humbled, and I really thank you for taking out time, your own time, to do this. Thank you so very much.
Yeah, and like I said, and I'm grateful and thankful and appreciate that you're taking your time out for me. So yeah, it's been really, really fascinating to hear your story and all the intertwinings of what you do and how you do it and why you do it. And like I said, I think people are going to be motivated and inspired. And as I grow, I'm sure it's going to help push people in your directions, because I truly think what you do is a worthy service that's needed.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and that
Thank you
needs to
so
be
much.
pushed and motivated and connected and shared with others. And
Thank
I'll
you
be
so
sure
much.
to share your links and share everything you do so people can contact and find you. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of the day. I know it's morning for you, it's mid-evening for me, so I'm going to settle down and have something to eat and take my cats and dogs for a walk.
Have a blessed day.
You too, man. Have a very blessed day. Much
Bye.
love, and speak to you soon.
Bye.